Welcome to HFY Galaxy Tales. Like this video and subscribe the channel for more HFY stories. Listen, I have been documenting human behavior for approximately 6 standard cycles now, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the incident at Sector 9. My name is Vorn, Senior Combat Analyst for the Kalthrix Empire, and before you judge me for what happened, understand this: we did everything by the book. Everything. The challenge was issued properly. The arena was prepared according to galactic combat protocols dating back 4,000 years. We even provided refreshments in the waiting area, which, let me tell you, was above and beyond our requirements. But humans? They do not care about your protocols. The whole mess started 3 weeks prior when our flagship accidentally, and I cannot stress the word accidentally enough, destroyed a human mining colony near the Tertius Belt. Was it unfortunate? Absolutely. Was it intentional? Debatable. Our captain, Brelix the Unyielding, claimed sensor malfunction. The humans claimed we were trigger-happy warmongers with the tactical awareness of a concussed sand slug. Both assessments might have been accurate. Regardless, the humans demanded satisfaction. Not reparations, mind you. Not a formal apology or trade concessions. No, they wanted what they called a proper settling of accounts, which in their barbaric vernacular meant ritual combat. One of theirs against one of ours. Winner takes moral superiority and a formal acknowledgement of fault. We laughed. Oh, how we laughed. The Kalthrix have been the dominant military power in this quadrant for 6 centuries. Our warriors train from the moment they can walk. We have biological advantages, natural armor plating, for arms, enhanced reflexes, and a biochemistry that makes us nearly immune to pain. Putting one of our champions against a soft-skinned human seemed less like combat and more like assisted suicide. So we accepted. Eagerly, actually. The date was set. The location, Arena 17 on the neutral station of Cragmore's Fist. It is a respected venue, known for hosting honorable combat between species of all kinds. The rules were simple and traditional. No weapons except what you bring with your own body. No armor. No external enhancements. Fight until one party yields, dies, or becomes incapacitated. Standard stuff, really. We selected our champion carefully. Korthan the Breaker, 7 feet of pure muscle and controlled violence, winner of 43 arena matches without a single loss. He once pulled the limbs off of Raxian shock trooper so efficiently that medical teams still use the footage for dismemberment training. The perfect specimen of Kalthrix superiority. I arrived at the arena 3 hours before the scheduled match, because I take my job seriously. The observation deck was already filling with spectators. Word had spread across the station that a human had challenged the great Korthan, and everyone wanted to witness what was sure to be a very brief, very educational demonstration of why humans should stay in their corner of the galaxy. The betting pools were absolutely vicious. Korthan was favored at odds of 1 to 50. Some bookmakers would not even take bets on the human, calling it confiscation of funds under false pretenses. I settled into my recording position, calibrated my observation equipment, and waited. Korthan entered the arena exactly on time, as was proper. He wore the traditional combat wraps, deep red against his gray skin. His 4 arms flexed in sequence, each motion precise and powerful. The crowd roared its approval. Then we waited for the human. And waited. And waited some more. The appointed time came and went. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. The crowd grew restless. Korthan stood in the center of the arena, perfectly still, a statue of controlled violence. I checked the official roster 3 times. The human representative was listed as one Dexter Cole, age 32, occupation listed simply as freight logistics. A freight handler. They sent us a freight handler. 20 minutes late, the arena's secondary entrance finally opened. What emerged was not what any of us expected. Dexter Cole was not an imposing figure. He stood perhaps 5 feet and 9 inches tall, which is small even by human standards. He had brown hair that looked like it had been cut by someone with a grudge against symmetry. He wore what I would later learn were called jeans, and a gray shirt with some kind of faded logo on it. His footwear appeared to be standard civilian boots, scuffed and worn. He was also carrying a large cup of what I would discover was coffee. He walked into the arena like he was strolling into a casual business meeting he did not particularly care about. No urgency. No battle focus. He was sipping his beverage and looking around at the crowd with mild interest, as if he had stumbled into a theater showing a moderately entertaining play. The crowd fell silent. This was not protocol. This was not how warriors entered combat. Corthan's eye ridge twitched. That was the only sign of his confusion. Dexter reached the center of the arena, stopped about 15 feet from Corthan, and took another long sip of his coffee. He looked up at my champion, tilted his head slightly, and said, "So, you are the guy who blew up the colony?" His tone was conversational. Friendly, almost. Corthan's mandibles clicked in irritation. "I am Corthan the Breaker, champion of the Kalthrix Empire. I fight in defense of my people's honor." "You are late." "Yeah." Dexter nodded, completely unbothered. "Sorry about that." The coffee place had a line. You ever been to one of those stations where they have, like, 30 different species all trying to order at once? Total nightmare. Anyway. He gestured vaguely with his cup. "You were saying something about honor? I want you to understand something. In 6 centuries of recorded Kalthrix combat history, no opponent had ever apologized to our champion for being late. Warriors did not apologize. They postured. They threatened. They demonstrated their killing intent. This human had just said sorry about a coffee queue. Corthan looked genuinely uncertain for perhaps the first time in his career. "You mock me." "What?" "No." Dexter looked surprised. "I am genuinely sorry I am late. That is rude, and my mom raised me better than that." "Well, she tried, anyway. Look, should I put this down, or?" He lifted the coffee cup slightly. "You dare bring refreshment into ritual combat? I mean, it is going to get cold if I leave it in the waiting room, and I paid 7 credits for this. Do you know how expensive coffee is out here? Highway robbery, honestly." The crowd did not know how to react. Neither did I. Neither did Corthan. My champion's training took over. He dropped into a combat stance, all 4 arms spreading wide, claws extending. "Enough. We begin now. Defend yourself, human." "Right, okay." Dexter took one more sip, looked around, spotted a small equipment box near the arena wall, and walked over to set his cup down on it. Carefully. Making sure it was stable. Then he turned back to Corthan, rolled his shoulders once, and said, "All right. Let us get this done. I have got a freight shipment to coordinate in 4 hours." Corthan charged. When a Kalthrix warrior charges, it is a sight that has broken the will of countless opponents. 7 feet of armored muscle moving with frightening speed, 4 arms ready to grab, crush, and tear. Corthan covered the distance in less than 2 seconds, a roar building in his throat that echoed through the arena. Dexter stood perfectly still until Corthan was almost on top of him. Then he stepped to the side. Not a dive. Not a desperate scramble. Just a simple, economical step to his left, turning his body slightly. Corthan's first 2 arms swept through empty air where Dexter had been standing. His momentum carried him forward several steps before he could arrest his movement and turn. "Okay," Dexter said, bouncing slightly on his feet. "So we are doing the grabby thing." "Got it." Corthan did not roar again. He was a professional. He adjusted his approach, coming in more controlled this time, using his reach advantage. His upper arms swept high while his lower arms aimed for Dexter's midsection, a pincer move that should have been impossible to avoid. Dexter ducked under the high sweep, somehow twisted between the lower arms, and ended up behind Korthan. He reached up and slapped the back of my champion's head. Not hard. Just a tap. Tag, Dexter said. You are it. The crowd gasped. To strike a Kalthrix warrior from behind, even in training, is considered either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Usually both. Korthan spun, faster than before, and this time there was genuine anger in his movements. His arms became a blur of strikes, each one powerful enough to shatter bone. The combination was flawless, a technique that had defeated dozens of opponents. Dexter weaved through the attacks like water flowing around stones. He did not look stressed. He looked focused, yes, but in the way someone looks focused when they are solving a mildly interesting puzzle. Every strike missed by inches. Sometimes less than inches. I checked my recording equipment twice. This was impossible. Humans were not supposed to move like that. They were not supposed to have those reflexes. Korthan pressed the attack for a full minute, expending more energy than he typically used in entire matches. When he finally stepped back, breathing hard, Dexter was untouched. Not even breathing heavily. You are fast, Korthan admitted. But speed alone will not save you. You cannot hurt me. Our hide is too thick for your soft hands. Is it, though? Dexter asked, and there was something in his voice. Something that made my translation implant struggle to identify the emotion. Amusement? No. Something else. Anticipation, maybe. Korthan charged again, and this time Dexter did not dodge. He stepped forward, inside Korthan's reach, and drove his fist into my champion's solar plexus. The sound was like a hammer hitting meat. Wet and solid and wrong. Korthan stopped. Completely stopped. His forearms went slack. His eyes widened. His mouth opened but no sound came out. Dexter pulled his fist back and stepped away, shaking his hand slightly. Ow. Okay. You were right about the hide thing. That is going to bruise. Korthan collapsed to his knees, then fell forward onto his face. He did not move. The arena was silent. I was silent. The entire station seemed to be holding its breath. Dexter walked over to the equipment box, picked up his coffee, and took a sip. He looked at Korthan's unconscious form, then up at the observation deck where I was recording. He raised his cup slightly in a salute. Then he turned and walked out of the arena, still carrying his coffee, leaving behind the greatest champion the Kalthrix Empire had ever produced, defeated in under 3 minutes by a freight logistics coordinator who had been 20 minutes late because of a coffee queue. I sat there in stunned silence, my recording equipment capturing everything, and realized that every assumption we had made about humans was catastrophically, dangerously wrong. And this was only the beginning of our education. The medical team rushed into the arena approximately 30 seconds after Dexter Cole disappeared through the exit. I remained frozen in my observation position, still processing what I had just witnessed. My recording equipment was still running. My hands were still positioned on the controls. But my brain had apparently decided to take an unscheduled vacation. Korthan the Breaker, unconscious. From a single punch. By a human who apologized for being late. The medics surrounded my champion, their instruments scanning frantically. I activated my communication link to their lead physician, a competent female named Thressa. Report, I demanded, my voice somehow steady despite the chaos in my thoughts. His primary breathing organ has been severely traumatized, Thressa responded, her tone professional but strained. Blunt force impact caused temporary paralysis of the diaphragmatic nerve cluster. He will recover, but... Vorn, the precision required to hit that exact spot through our natural armor plating is... She trailed off. Is what? Impossible. That is what it is. Our anatomy is not common knowledge among humans. Even our own warriors need years of training to locate that vulnerability. This human targeted it on his first strike. His only strike. I disconnected the link and played back the recording. Frame by frame. Dexter's approach. The positioning of his feet. The rotation of his hips. The trajectory of his fist. Everything about the movement spoke of training, but not the kind we understood. It was efficient. Brutally so. The crowd was beginning to recover from its shock. Conversations erupted across the observation deck. Confusion. Anger. Disbelief. I heard one Vraxian merchant screaming at a bookmaker about the legitimacy of the match. Several Kalthrix military officials were demanding an investigation. I sat there and wondered how I was going to explain this in my report. The answer came 3 hours later in the form of Captain Brelix the Unyielding storming into my office. He was not living up to his title. He looked very much like he was yielding to panic. Tell me the human cheated, he demanded. Tell me he used some kind of enhancement. A device. Something. I gestured to my display screen, where the fight footage was paused on the moment of impact. He was scanned 3 times before entering the arena. No devices. No enhancements. No chemical augmentation. Just, a human. Humans are weak. Fragile. We have the data. Centuries of it. Apparently our data is incomplete, sir. Brelix's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of severe stress. This is a disaster. If word spreads that a single human defeated Korthan in single combat, our reputation, our contracts, the mercenary companies alone will question our capabilities. Word has already spread, sir. The match was broadcast to 1,700 vessels and stations across this sector. By now, half the quadrant knows. He slumped into a chair. It creaked under his weight. What do we do? That was when my secondary monitor chimed with an incoming message. Official diplomatic channels. I opened it and felt my stomach drop, which is an impressive feat considering Kalthrix anatomy. The message was from the Human Diplomatic Corps. It was brief, polite, and absolutely terrifying. To the Kalthrix Empire. Thank you for honoring the combat agreement. We accept your acknowledgement of fault regarding the Tertius Belt incident. As a gesture of goodwill and to prevent future misunderstandings, we would like to invite a delegation of Kalthrix military officials to observe human combat training protocols. We believe cultural exchange will benefit both our peoples. Please respond at your earliest convenience. Signed, Ambassador Patricia Okonkwo, Human Diplomatic Service. Brelix read over my shoulder. Cultural exchange. They want us to see how they train. Yes, sir. This is a threat. Yes, sir. They are saying they have more like him. I pulled up another file I had been compiling. Sir, after the match, I did some research. Dexter Cole's official occupation is Freight Logistics Coordinator. But his military record, which is publicly available in human databases, lists him as former Special Operations, discharged 8 years ago. He saw combat in 3 separate human conflicts. So he was a warrior. Was, sir. Past tense. He handles cargo shipments now. This was not their best fighter. This was a retired freight worker who agreed to help out because, and I am quoting the message his union sent us, someone needed to teach us some manners. Brelix made a sound I had never heard a Kalthrix make before. It might have been a whimper. Over the next 2 weeks, I became something of an expert on human military capability. Not by choice. By necessity. Every piece of information I found made our situation worse. Humans have been fighting each other for their entire recorded history. Constantly. Their planet has never experienced a single century without warfare somewhere on its surface. They have developed approximately 8,000 distinct combat systems, ranging from ancient wrestling techniques to modern mixed martial disciplines. They study anatomy obsessively. Not just their own, but every species they encounter. There are human medical students who can locate the equivalent of a solar plexus nerve cluster on 40 different alien physiologies. For fun. As a hobby. They practice something called stress inoculation training, where they deliberately put themselves in horrible situations to build psychological resilience. They run until their bodies want to shut down. They fight while exhausted. They simulate combat scenarios that would traumatize most species just to watch. And perhaps most disturbing, they consider all of this normal. Expected, even. I found an interview with Dexter Cole that had been published in a human news feed 2 days after the match. The reporter asked him if he had been nervous facing a Kalthrix champion. His response, not really. I mean, the guy was big, sure. But I sparred with plenty of big guys in the service. Size just means more target area. Plus, he was telegraphing his moves like he was trying to signal a ship in distress. Whole thing felt kind of unfair, honestly. Unfair. He thought beating Korthan was unfair. To Korthan. The cultural exchange visit was scheduled for 3 weeks after the match. I was assigned to the delegation because apparently my life had become a cosmic joke and the universe wanted to see how it ended. We arrived at a human military training facility on their colony world of New Anchorage. The base commander, a weathered woman named General Mbeki, greeted us with professional courtesy and what I was learning to recognize as a human smile. Friendly on the surface. Predatory underneath. Welcome, she said. We have prepared several demonstrations for you. I think you will find them educational. Educational. That word would haunt my nightmares. The first demonstration was hand-to-hand combat training. 20 human soldiers, mixed genders and sizes, practicing techniques in a gymnasium. We watched from an observation platform. These are basic recruits, General Mbeki explained. 6 weeks into their training cycle. They are learning fundamental striking and grappling techniques. Basic recruits. 6 weeks of training. They moved with a precision and aggression that rivaled our advanced warriors. One of our delegation members, a tactical officer named Grenth, scoffed. Against each other, perhaps they seem capable. But against a true opponent. Would you like to volunteer for a demonstration? The general asked sweetly. Grenth was not stupid enough to accept. Neither was anyone else. The second demonstration was worse. They showed us something called a kill house, where soldiers practiced clearing hostile structures. The speed was insane. The coordination flawless. They moved through the facility like they could see through walls, anticipating threats, covering angles, communicating in clipped efficient phrases. Average completion time for this course is 90 seconds, the general mentioned casually. The record is 41 seconds. I did the math. The structure had 12 rooms and approximately 40 different threat positions. 41 seconds. Impossible, Brelix muttered. We have video, General Mbeki offered. Would you like to see it? We declined. The third demonstration was what broke us. They took us to a shooting range. Long distance. Targets at varying ranges up to 2,000 meters. A young human, barely into adulthood by their standards, lay prone behind a rifle that looked almost too big for him. Private Henderson, the general called out. Whenever you are ready. The private fired 6 shots in 12 seconds. 6 targets. 6 hits. The furthest target was 1,800 meters away. Adequate performance, Private, the general said. Then she looked at us. He is ranked in the middle of his class. We have 300 soldiers at this facility alone who can match or exceed that performance. Captain Brelix looked like he was going to be sick. We returned to our ship that evening in silence. The humans had made their point with devastating clarity. They were not just capable fighters. They were a species that had turned warfare into an art form, a science, and apparently a recreational activity. I spent that night writing my report. The conclusions were clear and deeply uncomfortable. 1. The Kalthrix Empire had severely underestimated human military capability. 2. Our supposed superiority in this quadrant was based on never having fought an opponent who trained as obsessively as we did. 3. The humans trained more obsessively than we did. Significantly more. 4. We were very, very lucky that they seemed to prefer peace. I submitted the report at dawn. By midday, I received a response from High Command. It was brief. Report accepted. Recommend immediate revision of engagement protocols regarding human forces. Under no circumstances should military action be taken against human interests without Council approval. P.S. Tell Captain Brelix his command has been reassigned. He will be overseeing waste reclamation on Station 42 until further notice. That seemed fair. 3 months later, I received a personal message. It was from Dexter Cole. Hey Vorn. Hope this finds you well. I heard through some channels that you were on the delegation that visited New Anchorage. Wanted to say sorry if that was intense. The general gets a bit enthusiastic about showing off. Anyway, I am back to moving freight and honestly it is way less stressful than fighting. If you are ever in the Tertius Belt area, look me up. First coffee is on me. Take care. Dexter. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I sent a reply. Thank you for the invitation. I will take you up on that. But I am buying my own coffee. I have learned that accepting things from humans often comes with unexpected consequences. Respectfully, Vorn. His response came back almost immediately. Ha. Fair enough. See you around. I saved both messages. Someday, when younger Kalthrix asked me about the humans and why we treat them with such careful respect, I would show them the footage of Corthan's defeat. And then I would tell them about the freight worker who apologized for being late, drank coffee during ritual combat, and taught an entire empire a lesson in humility. Because that is what humans do. They show up late, apologize politely, and then completely rewrite your understanding of the universe. And somehow, impossibly, you end up grateful for the education. Even if it costs you your pride, your champion, and your captain's career. Especially then.